The summer of 1950. It is a scorcher of a day at the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico during the Age of Anxiety, the atomic era. Life in America is outwardly pleasant, with a strong economy, nuclear families, and white picket fences, yet inwardly, it's a disaster as the Cold War lurked. 48-year-old Enrico Fermi is on his way to a group lunch that will soon spark a heated debate with more longevity and more endurance than any other lunch debate in modern history. The father of the nuclear age, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, standing 5'6" with a balding Roman black head of hair and olive oil skin, he wears a plain suit despite the New Mexico summer heat. Although his monumental work contributed to the deadliest weapon the world had ever seen, the nuclear bomb, Fermi's friends know him as a warm, straightforward, and personable man with a good sense of humor. They also consider him an undeniable genius, surprisingly without ego or arrogance. He has a constant fascination with the world, always running calculations in his head, like how many piano tuners live in NYC, or how many drops of water are in Lake Erie, or how many balloons would it take to fill up a gymnasium. His mind was always running, and that day in particular, Fermi and his scientist pals are lost in discussion about space, and they head toward the Fuller Lodge dining hall for a quick bite. With him that day is Edward Teller, the future father of the hydrogen bomb. He's currently developing what will become a weapon that is hundreds to thousands times more powerful than the atomic bombs dropped on Japan only a few years earlier. And to set the scene, the fear of nuclear weapons is escalating across the world, and the Cold War is escalating by the day. U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy is swept up by the Red Scare, believing that communists had infiltrated the U.S. government. So in turn, he fuels anti-communist fear-mongering that spreads like wildfire. Because of this, Fermi and Teller's other close colleague and friend, J. Robert Oppenheimer, would later come under suspicion in only a few years' time, and they had all worked together on the Manhattan Project together to develop the nuclear bomb. But considering this backdrop, many Americans in the 1950s will believe that war with the Soviets is inevitable, and the use of more nuclear weapons is on the horizon. The Soviets had recently detonated their first nuclear device as a test, and soon school children will be performing the infamous duck and cover drills under their desks. And now Fermi and his friends waltz through where it all began, the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico. This lab was established in 1943 as a secret site for the Manhattan Project to develop the world's first atomic weapon, and to many physicists, including Enrico Fermi, the nuclear weapons and the study of the atom paid the bills. Adjusted for inflation, the Manhattan Project cost about $36 billion. And now with the threat of the atom bomb and the looming Cold War, many are looking up at space. Space becomes this high-stakes arena where the US and the USSR would go toe-to-toe, known as the space race. Whoever dominated space got to claim superiority. And as we know, the Soviets were the first to launch a satellite and the first to put a human in space, and the US was the first to put a man on the moon. Among the scientists at Los Alamos, the true joys of physics came not from the weapons of mass destruction, but from the philosophy of science and the endless mystery of the final frontier. Fermi, Teller, and their small group of friends head into the dining hall for lunch that day, casually conversing about the complications of space travel. The discussion of flying saucers came up naturally, and these ships and their little green men had become a household craze after the Roswell incident only a few years earlier. The scientists joke about what they call an obvious statement, that flying saucers are not real. Pushing their glasses up the bridges of their noses, they explain that the saucer's shape makes them inefficient and unstable for space travel, especially faster than light travel. They even joke about popular cartoons that claimed flying saucers and aliens were causing the disappearance of New York City trash cans. Once seated, Fermi turns to Teller and asks, "What do you think? How probable is it that within the next 10 years, we shall have clear evidence of a material object moving faster than light?" Teller responds, 10 to the negative 6, or in layman's terms, that's 1 in a million chance. Fermi said, "That is much too low. The probability is more like 10%. Fermi and Teller then bounce numbers off each other as they argue about interstellar travel. Eventually, the group moves on to other topics, but Fermi grows very quiet, lost in thought, as he often was. He then interrupts the group, and he doesn't know it, but he is on the verge of his Isaac Newton Apple moment when he asks a very short yet incredibly complex question. But where is everybody? A profound moment in history, but at the time, it only gets a few laughs around the lunch table. And despite the question coming out of the blue, everyone knows Fermi is talking about the little green men with beady eyes, extraterrestrial life. They all trade a few ideas about how far away everything is in the known universe, and that the location of other living things could be incomprehensibly far away. Perhaps Earth is just in the sticks and far removed from the metropolitan area of the galactic center, as Teller puts it. But when you think of how vast the universe is, considering how likely it must be that some extraterrestrial life must exist out there, why is there absolutely no hard evidence for other civilizations ever existing? And why have we never made contact with other intelligent life? Is interstellar flight impossible? Is it just not worth the effort or resources? Is life really that rare? Is the universe a naturally hostile place? Is there some great bottleneck for advancing, or is there something that causes civilizations to simply collapse before they can make contact with anyone else? This puzzling question of why we're so alone, despite the odds, is what would become known as the Fermi Paradox, one of the most thought-provoking yet most puzzling contradictions of the entire universe. Welcome to another episode of Do Geese See God, a podcast with a name that no one understands and no one ever will. I'm your host, Austin Lee, a speck of dust upon a speck of dust. Here's Jaye, as always. She's actually an alien overlord in disguise as a dog. We also have Robert back here behind the cameras, as always, but he's without a mic. Actually, he's not behind the cameras. He fell into a supermassive black hole, and he will not have a speaking part. He's gone. He's gone. He's only here in spirit. And here in the sleepy chair, this is my dear friend, Matt. We go back, God, I think it was maybe like 12 years old or something we first met.
Maybe
you had
even
very long
earlier.
hair.
Yeah, because it had to be before that, I think.
It was a long time ago. Yeah. I remember you had like Breakfast Club on DVD or something. I was like, who is this guy?
Who is this nerd, dude?
And that was
watching rated R movies?
Yeah,
age
yeah.
12?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, we go way back. We were in a band together. Matt plays guitar, synth, also great vocalist, great songwriter.
Oh, stop.
He has some great stuff. We could plug your stuff in there as well. But yeah, Matt, go ahead, introduce yourself.
I'm Matt. I've known Austin. I feel like it had to be before 12 because
it might be.
Because I feel like like 6th grade or something like that.
If only we could step into a tesseract and go back in time and see that moment.
Yeah. I know. I'm blanking on the exact moment. I remember meeting Mike, which is how we met.
Right, yeah.
And I think I met Mike at some guy's house. We were playing Crazy Bones.
Nice. Oh my God, Crazy Bones.
Yeah, take you back,
Wow, the little creature figurines
flicked at each other. Yeah.
That's a good memory.
But yeah, I mean, we've known each other for 22 years.
Old friends, as they say.
Old friends.
But yeah, I'm happy to have you here in the hot seat. Or it's not really, it's kind of the warm seat.
It's a little bit, it's warm, but in a nice way,
yeah,
especially
sleepy.
With this cozy blanket.
Remember to go smash all the buttons. You guys know it. Come on, you got to help this podcast survive. Go follow, like, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, Patreon and YouTube members. I hope you guys enjoyed the little bedtime story. We've been putting together quite a few, and Robert and I had so much fun with that first one. we kind of just want to keep pumping them out fairly consistently, little bedtime stories. It doesn't even feel like work. I think that's the best part about those is it's like we were laughing. There's a whole outtakes where we were just laughing in between all those takes. So
release it.
Yeah, we should. If you guys are interested in some of the extra content that we've been producing, go check out the Patreon and YouTube members. That goes to support Robert. It goes to support Kelley. It goes to support the show. So go contribute what you can, and especially if you want some of that extra content. It's a bit of a stylistic change too from what we normally do on the show. So you get to see a little bit of a different side of us in the extra content, but hopefully we keep pumping that out. Also, I finally talked to a guy about merch. We're getting that rolling as well.
About time.
Yeah, so just stay tuned for all that. And today is International Asteroid Day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just kind of conveniently landed on this episode. It marks the anniversary of the 1908 Tunguska event in Siberia, which was the largest asteroid impact in recorded history, destroying 80 million trees.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jeez. I thought this was a happy day or something.
Yeah. I don't think anyone was hurt.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah. Besides the trees.
trees.
Yeah. Sorry, trees. I didn't mean to
Sorry,
insult you
trees.
like that.
It's not Arbor Day, so it's okay.
Yeah. True. It's International Asteroid Day.
Yeah.
So we're kind of celebrating the asteroid destroying all of it.
Seems icky, maybe. I don't know about that.
But with this episode, we're going to be diving very deep into the final frontier and the limitless potential of the universe. But before we really hop in, Matt, I wanted to ask, do you have any special memory or like a personal connection to space?
I do have a potential sighting.
Oh, yeah?
When I was in my early 20s, I was with a group of friends. We were driving back from somewhere. It was the 4th of July. So, maybe fireworks could be the answer. But
sure.
We were at a stoplight, and all of a sudden we just saw these multicolored lights above us. And we all saw it. So we were thinking, like, are we crazy? Did you see that?
Yeah,
I saw that. But it happened so quickly that we thought, oh, maybe we're just seeing things. Like,
right.
I don't know. And it was, afternoon. It was like 5 p.m. So we thought that'd be a strange time to see a UFO sighting.
I mean, really, when you think about it, that could be the perfect cover for a UFO, where they're like, okay, there's a bunch of billion lights blowing up in the sky.
True.
We'll use that as cover to travel the skies.
They're smarter than us.
They
man.
know it's 4th of July.
Yeah.
So they're like, fire up the engines.
They're aware of all the
we're
American
going out.
holidays.
We're going to hit the skies. Yeah, exactly. They're on the schedule. That's a cool story, though. I have a personal story of my own connected to space. I once went outside. It was in my backyard, and I used to go up north all the time. Like sometimes it'd be weekend after weekend, and I would go look up at the Milky Way galaxy, because in some places in northern Michigan, it's very dark sky. I think there's maybe a few dark sky parks if you go way north, but
that's cool.
No matter where you are, if you're far enough away from the city, you could see the Milky Way galaxy, you could see asteroids, there's so much going on up there. But I remember I was telling my friend, I was like, sometimes when I look up there, it's like, it feels like the most profound experience. It makes you feel so small. It humbles you.
Oh, yeah.
And this friend who I won't name was like, really? That's like the most profound thing for you? And I remember I was so insulted by that. Yeah. I took it so personally that I was trying to, I don't know, I felt like I was a little vulnerable, where I was like, I had this very profound moment looking up at space. Not a very original thing, but I don't know. I was like, it makes me feel small, which is important to kind of check your ego. And it was a powerful moment. And that friend, no longer a friend.
Yeah.
That friend was just like, really? Like that's where you check your ego?
That's kind of a big thing, I think, to most people,
Yeah, I think most people resonate with that, right?
Yeah, unless you're looking at it completely at surface value. I think that, seeing space like that is a monumentous thing.
Yeah, but I'm glad I have that memory of it. I also saw the Andromeda Galaxy through a telescope in a dark sky park in Utah, we didn't even know they were going to be there. We just knew it was a dark sky park. And randomly, it was this team of people from some nearby university.
Oh, wow.
They had set up this massive telescope. They're like, do you want to look into it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And they had it where you could input you want to look at the moon? They could just type it in.
Oh my God.
And it would track whatever you wanted. And so I saw the stars from the Andromeda galaxy, and it blew my mind, which is some insane light years away. But that is the closest galaxy to ours. And I'll never forget that moment.
Yeah, that makes me want a telescope.
Yeah, right.
Probably crazy expensive, but
that one I think they said was like $6 million.
I'm sure.
Yeah. It was wild. But we are about to touch on just how vast space really is. And most of us already know, but we'll be putting it all into perspective, which I think is important because it can be a bit overwhelming to touch on space, the observable universe, the massive numbers. But we'll be covering all the best theories of the Fermi Paradox, as well as the most fun theories. And because, sometimes the most fun theories, they can be the most ridiculous, but sometimes you're like, wait, there is a bit of truth to some of these. And what's cool about the Fermi Paradox is that it's not just a question of physics or mathematics. Some of these theories actually include at least 10 different scientific disciplines like anthropology, ecology, et cetera, because the paradox is just that complex. It attempts to answer the question, why are we so alone? And we just have no trace of anybody, or perhaps we do. And as we prepare to launch into this episode, you get it, Houston? I want you to begin thinking about all the factors that have gone into creating life on the planet Earth. And on top of that, how many factors went into our advancement as a civilization and our reach for the stars. It's really a mind-boggling amount. So keep that in mind. Everything that has aligned throughout all of human history for us to even put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
A lot had to go into that, right? But Houston, before takeoff, we're going to serve you up some rapid fire space facts. The observable universe is about 93 billion light years across. Although much more of it exists beyond that, infinitely, the light simply hasn't reached us yet. The sun is 400 times larger than the moon, but also 400 times as far away, making both objects appear to be the same size in our sky. It's a complete cosmic coincidence. And we happen to live in a time frame that allows for total solar eclipses. Feels special out there. This one is for the music buffs. NASA detected a black hole that produces a note that is 57 octaves below middle C. It is so low, it takes 10 million years to complete one single wave. Matt, are you pitch perfect? Do you know? Can you sing me?
Not even trying. Give me a
middle
note.
C. Sing middle C.
I'm certain that's completely wrong.
Kelley's going to plug middle C in here and see how close you are.
Show me how bad I am.
Yeah. Astronauts claim that space has a smell. Some have described it like seared steak, gunpowder, hot metal, or burnt toast. A teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh roughly 1 billion tons on Earth. Cue up A Spoonful Weighs a Ton by the Flaming Lips. Am I right?
Nice.
The universe can expand faster than the speed of light because the speed limit only applies to objects moving through space, not space itself. All right, this last one. Imagine you're on a beach, like a sandy beach along Lake Huron, and for every grain of sand, imagine 10 to 27,000 stars out in the universe. Now imagine all the sand on the planet Earth and visualize that again, 10 to 27,000 stars for each grain of sand on the Earth. There is a total estimate of about 7 septillion, 500 quadrillion stars in the observable universe. So if you remember the Fermi Paradox, with the high probability of intelligent extraterrestrial life existing in the universe, how is there a complete lack of contact or evidence? The potential solutions are boiled down to a few main ideas. They do not exist, and we are alone. They do exist, but they aren't, or we aren't capable of communicating. Or lastly, they exist, but they actively choose not to contact us. There's also a little subcategory of this, of course, that not only do intelligent extraterrestrials exist, but they've already visited Earth with or without our knowledge. They might even be living among us. There are several theories that break down each of these ideas, and we're going to avoid the lame ones, so don't worry. If we are truly alone, there are theories like the rare Earth and great filter theories. Then if extraterrestrials do exist, either us or them, or both, just aren't capable of contacting one another. And this could be due to the sheer distance, energy costs, differences in technology, cultural roadblocks, resource scarcity, or that conditions for life only recently became viable. There is what's known as the Great Filter Theory, which we'll dig into, and also the self-destruction theories and the Galactic stomachache theory, which is a personal favorite of mine that we'll get into. And then if intelligent extraterrestrials do exist, but they're actively hiding from us, the dark forest or the zoo theories might explain that. So strap in for a wild journey through the theories surrounding the Fermi Paradox. All right, I'm going to run some numbers by you and prepare yourself. A lot of these numbers are going to be billion, trillion, quintillion, a bajillion, a gajillion. Imagine you're outside at night in a massive field, maybe up North Michigan where the light pollution isn't so bad like I was talking about earlier, and you look up at a clear night sky and you see the shining array of the Milky Way. Hundreds of billions of distant stars, gas, and space dust make up this galaxy. But with the naked eye, we can really only see maybe more than about 2,500 stars, give or take, depending on the conditions. And we are only witnessing a very small fraction of the entire galaxy, no more than about 0.00003% of the Milky Way, just a tiny blip of the absolutely massive expanse. So are you feeling small yet? Well, keep imagining that night sky and what's beyond it. The Milky Way is one of many, many galaxies. Depending on who you ask, it's estimated there are hundreds of billions, possibly up to 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe, a total of 1 septillion 500 quadrillion stars, as we mentioned, and on a safe estimate, there are 500 quintillion sun-like stars. So what are the chances that these sun-like stars are orbited by Earth-like planets, especially ones with similar conditions and elements that could possibly support life? Well, this is all a big educated guessing game, and a study from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences says we find that 22% of sun-like stars harbor Earth-sized planets, orbiting in their habitable zones. Very important. There are an estimated 6 to 20 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way alone, and there are potentially hundreds of billions of trillions of Earth-like planets in the observable universe. So when you're running these numbers, even if you average them all down or just shave off some of those numbers at random, you'd think you'd still come up with a generally high probability of life among these planets, right? On top of that, shave off the amount of potential civilizations who wouldn't be sending out frequencies, laser beams, or gravitational waves, or other forms of contact. The number is still incredibly high in theory, right? But the Hat Creek Radio Observatory in Northern California, it has a 42 antenna radio telescope array specifically designed by the SETI Institute and UC Berkeley to search for technological signatures for extraterrestrial life. They can search for a massive range of frequencies, and these antennas are gargantuan, but still not a peep, nothing. In 1961, astrophysicist Frank Drake put together the Drake equation. It was never meant to be a precise answer to this question, but his detailed equation originally suggested that there were between 1,000 and 100 million planets with civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. Some current estimates put it to a few dozen to 10,000. We just don't know. But Fermi was right to ask his question, right? Considering all these numbers, where is everybody? Where are they, Matt?
I'd like to know myself.
Yeah, right? It makes no sense. And here's the crazy part. It gets even more ridiculous. Our Earth is relatively young compared to other planets, at about 4.54 billion years old. The Big Bang was about 13.8 billion years ago. Considering all the billions and billions of additional years other Earth-like planets have had to advance, it makes no sense. Also, think about how far we have come in only such a short time. Imagine a time machine where, let's say, we take a medieval person from 1,000 years ago and we bring them to our present time on Earth. The world would be almost unrecognizable to them. The world would be unrecognizable to them. Maybe trees would look familiar and things of the natural world, but everything else would look completely different. And now imagine Earth 1,000 years from now. It would probably be unrecognizable to us, right? So if only in that relatively short amount of time we have advanced that far, it's mind-boggling to think that these civilizations could be out there advancing incredibly rapidly. So to help us understand this a little bit more, there's this thing called the Kardashev scale, and it was created by a Russian scientist, Nikolai Kardashev, and he argues there are 3 types of civilizations. Type 1, it's a civilization that can use all of the energy on their planet. But we're not even type 1. Carl Sagan estimated we are at about 0.7. Then there's type 2, a civilization that can harvest all the energy of their host star, and this is the sun in our case. We are nowhere near this in the slightest to harvest the energy of the sun. And then there's type 3. It's a civilization that can access power that is equivalent to the entire galaxy. The idea is that by then the civilization would have things like interstellar travel and can create new planets with raw materials and even just colonize the entire galaxy. In theory, this is estimated to take about 3.75 million years. You better be writing all this down.
Well, if you brought me my notepad,
Yeah,
I would.
you could write it down while you're wearing the eye mask.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I could do that. Maybe.
But considering all these insane numbers, it sounds a bit unreasonable, right? Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
But consider all those Earth-like planets that have potentially existed long before the Earth. And also think about how rapidly our own tech is advancing before our very eyes, just day to day. Plus, we can see the writing on the wall. We're already talking about moon colonies, right? So how long would it take until we're colonizing our solar system and eventually our entire galaxy? It's really not that out of the question. Some have added onto this scale with types 4 and 5, where 4 can harness the energy of the universe, and 5 can control energy and even reality across multiple universes.
It's a lot of power.
That is an insane amount of power. But obviously, these are all speculative. But that's the fun stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Within these super advanced civilizations, even back going to type 2 and type 3, where you can harvest the energy of the sun, harvest the entire galaxy, they would possibly have insanely huge megastructures built to do things like harvest those resources, right? And there are a ton of theoretical structures. Think of the huge centrifuge habitat in Interstellar.
Oh, yeah.
So think of all the civilizations that could be out there creating things like that. Or there are concepts like mirror sails that capture radiation and propel planetary systems. There are things like ring worlds, there's shell worlds, massive space elevators, all this type of stuff. But one actually somewhat promising megastructure could be like the Dyson sphere. It's a hypothetical megastructure that encompasses a star and captures its power output. It's like a big sphere around the sun.
Gosh.
We've actually been looking for these since about the 2000s. This was news to me. Researchers thought they might have found one in 2015, but of course, it was only space dust.
Classic.
Yeah. Only a couple of years ago in 2024, there were actually more potential sightings of these Dyson spheres, but the infrared that was detected might have only been distant, dust-obscured galaxies. So still, there's nothing. We can't find them. No luck. With all the probability in favor of other intelligent life being out there and being advanced, why there's just no trace, not a single trace? Well, a big theory that attempts to explain the Fermi Paradox is called the Great Filter Theory. This proposes that there is an immense evolutionary bottleneck that is so difficult to squeeze through that almost no civilization can push through it before collapsing, or none at all can make it. We're not exactly sure where this filter happens, so there are two ideas to unpack. One is that we, as humans, are already past this great filter, and the other is that the filter is still ahead of us. We don't know. Matt, are you keeping up? Because there's going to be a pop quiz.
I'm keeping mental notes.
All right, good. Matt has a huge brain. He's keeping it all locked in here.
I just have a huge head. It's really small, actually.
But here's the great filter theory. There are 9 steps to get through, hypothetically. So, the right star system and habitable planet, including organics. 2, reproductive molecules like RNA. 3, simple single-cell life. 4, complex single-cell life. 5, sexual reproduction. I bet now Matt is paying attention finally.
Oh, I was just falling asleep, actually.
Yeah,
So
wow.
You really woke me up with that one, yeah.
The next is multi-cell life. Then we jump to tool-using animals with big brains. And actually, we just, this is us. And we actually just covered this in our last episode. Then we move on to advanced civilization with industry and high technology, which is where humans are currently. And the final and last step is a colonization explosion where we take over the cosmos. And we have not gotten here, obviously. So the question is, where is the great filter among these steps? Did we already get through it, or is it a step ahead of us? Or might it be the step that we're currently at? Are we on the verge of collapsing? Can we not get through this one? You can imagine some of the steps would be incredibly hard. Consider a planet whose only inhabitants are sea creatures. Can you visualize that? Kind of cool. They most likely would never use fire, which was critical to our development of tools and technology. So they'd just be stuck without fire. Would they have to just find a workaround, do something else, build their own tools beneath the ocean surface? Who knows? Others argue that abiogenesis is extremely difficult and rare too, which is where life arises from non-living matter. Can you explain that, Matt? That life just suddenly started on Earth?
You know, I think some people call it like God or something.
Yeah,
but I don't really know all about that stuff. That's beyond my pay grade. So I don't mess with that.
That is what some people think, is that abiogenesis, it's so hard to explain that people are just like, this is evidence of God.
Yeah.
Life
like,
just...
If you say so, you know.
Yeah.
I guess you could say the same about aliens, though, you know.
Absolutely. You could say that about almost anything, really. Yeah. It's God. But the thing is, we just don't have the research to say which steps in this filter are more difficult than others, because we have no other research samples outside of life on Earth. We truly just don't know. But in the words of Dr. Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park, I'm simply saying that life finds a way. And to combine a bunch of theories together, there's also the early great filter and late great filter theories. And the early filter is the solution to the rare earth idea, which we'll get into later. And there are many things that have to go exactly right to have intelligent life on Earth. Or in the words of Tom York, everything in its right place. Yesterday, I woke up sucking on a lemon. Profound words. The late great filter is whatever would stop civilizations from advancing through the Kardashev scale. Do you remember that scale, Matt?
Yeah.
Can you list every single type?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, it's how far we can progress, right? And
essentially.
The energy that we have available to us.
Yes, exactly. How much we can harness, basically. So if there are civilizations who have made it through this great filter, how is there no trace of them? Is it because we haven't made it through this filter, or is it because we might be the only ones who have made it through, and that's why we're alone? Who knows?
Yeah.
A lot of you listeners might be thinking, wow, this is very information heavy. I don't blame you. So we're going to slow it down a bit, or maybe speed it up, I don't know. But we're going to have more fun with this next section, because we're going to get into extraterrestrials and aliens among us. Many SETI enthusiasts, which if you don't know SETI, S-E-T-I, this is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, they avoid the theories that aliens are already among us, mostly because they rely on heavy speculation. But where's the fun in that? And I want to ask, Matt, do you believe in aliens?
I think I do. I at least like to believe that they're out there, It seems to me probable that they are.
Yeah, so in what capacity do you think they exist in?
Ooh,
Like how far advanced are we talking?
I mean, that's the thing. It could be, I feel like we often think of like, oh, could they exist? We think of exoplanets that are terraformed with, oceans, because that's what we live on. But
Mhm.
for all we know, the aliens could live on something that is totally different atmosphere, and they have totally different biology than us.
True.
But I think, I don't know how much you go into the dark forest theory.
Oh
and
yeah,
all
we're gonna
that
touch on
stuff,
dark forest.
I think that's seems like a pretty valid theory.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will definitely get into the dark forest theory. It's a creepy one too,
Very
but
creepy.
I think I also tend to believe that aliens exist out there. In what capacity, I'm not sure. I used to think it was like, oh, there's a lot of life out there. It's just not intelligent because.
And that's entirely possible too.
Yeah, but now I'm thinking that there are highly intelligent life forms out there that are so far advanced they don't even live on Earth-like planets anymore.
Mhm.
They have essentially created an entirely synthetic galaxy somewhere out there that they live behind a huge stealth bubble. But yeah, I don't exactly know where my beliefs are at with intelligent life forms. I like to think that like we're little worms that they don't even really care too much about. We're
right.
We're over in our little dirt patch over here trying to figure things out, and they're just looking down. They kind of observe us every once in a while, but they really don't care all that much because they're so far beyond us, and they've already solved things like how do we give clean water to everyone.
Yeah.
And they're looking at us like, look at these chumps over here. They can't even get clean water to everybody.
You guys are out here with bottled water, and all kinds
owned
of
by Nestle. Yeah,
exactly.
But I think those are my thoughts on aliens. I'm not quite sure exactly where I'm at, but I think that's where I'm at nowadays. So if you're a believer out there, I don't know how many of my listeners are believers. Maybe that's good. Go comment if you believe and why you believe, and then to what extent do you think the aliens exist at? If you believe they exist, how far have they come? I want to know all your guys' ideas and theories out there. But if you believe in aliens, there's this cool theory called the zoo theory. It's really fun. I mean, how could it not be fun? It's called the zoo theory, really. And it was first put forward by MIT astronomer John Ball in 1973. He thought that we're essentially inside a galactic zoo or a kind of nature preserve, possibly even inside a lab. And the aliens already know we're here. Perhaps they're among us. Perhaps they've hidden all traces of their own civilization from us, and they have specifically set this region of space aside for us. So we, as a low-level civilization, can develop, and we're then observed like zoo animals. And Matt, do you know what Billy Corgan said about all this?
I'm just a rat in a cage.
Yeah, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. You got the lyric.
I was going to say, the world is a vampire, but
that
the
too.
world is an alien.
That too. But if we go along with this zoo theory, the idea is that an alien species already colonized the Milky Way a long, long time ago. And they're actually so advanced, they've actually moved on from using planets as their homes. Since we're looking at Earth-like planets to find them, we'll never come across them, kind of like what I was just talking about. But the question is, why exactly do they want us inside of a zoo? Are they trying to protect us? Are they examining us? Or possibly are they protecting themselves? Who knows? Some even claim they might be using us for entertainment, almost like a reality TV show. I could see that. But despite the reasoning, there's essentially a giant intergalactic federation ban on contacting primitive species like us, at least until we reach a certain milestone. This is the idea. I've really always imagined this group of these super intelligent aliens observing us from like this stealth spaceship or whatever, and they watch us as we drop a nuclear bomb on other civilians. And they talk amongst themselves and they're like, yeah, we're never letting this species colonize anything but Earth. We're not allowing, if they're willing to do this to each other, imagine what they'll try to do to us if we let them advance any further. So they see all this infighting and this destruction, and disparity. And they just decide, humans, you're only going so far. We're not letting you out of this zoo ever.
Oh, yeah. It's like intergalactic quarantine.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, you're too violent, so we're just going to isolate you by yourselves.
You guys just haven't figured it out yet. But adding to this theory, some say there is a leaky ban when it comes to the zoo theory. And not everyone participates in the strict ban not to contact us. And this is why we get UFOs in the sky, or some that even try to interact with humans or capture humans. There might be some outliers who want to surveil us in our biosphere or capture us and probe us, maybe steal our seed to create alien-human hybrids for some sick experiment. Or these advanced civilizations might see us as so insignificant and primitive that they don't even bother contacting us. I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson who made the comparison to us as ants. And like, think of yourself walking along a sidewalk. You don't even consider the ant, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Why would it be any different than some intelligent sophont being out there walking by and barely noticing us? They're like, yeah, they're over there. We know they're
not even worth bothering.
Not even worth it.
I get it.
Among all these theories, though, the zoo theory is one of the most difficult to test, but it remains one of the most popular because it's just awesome. But to stack onto this theory a little bit, there's also the planetarium theory. It says that not only are we in something similar to a zoo, but what we're experiencing is actually an illusion to varying degrees. An ultra-advanced species is possibly manipulating the energy and matter around us, or the universe beyond our galaxy might be completely fabricated, like a planetarium projection or a 3D movie. Whatever happened to 3D movies? I have no idea.
Man, they fell off.
They did.
Probably for good reason.
Matt's dad had a 3D TV.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Which had just the worst movies.
Yeah.
Because all that was there was, I think, like the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland. And then just some random stuff.
Yeah, you never got much mileage out of that thing.
Yeah, it was gimmicky for a little bit. You're like, wow, this is so cool. And then you watch the same 3 movies that are available on there, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm over this.
Yeah. There's no Criterion 3D movies,
right,
unfortunately.
Yeah, no Fellini on 3D.
Yeah. But yeah, there's this idea that what we're seeing maybe within the galaxy is real, but then everything beyond that is just a projection, which is kind of cool. But the reason we haven't found any evidence of another life form and made contact is because it's all manipulated, obviously. And even if we did find evidence out there, how could we know if it was even real? This also dips into a little bit, you might already be thinking this, the simulation theory, where everything we observe is simply a simulation. And within this simulation, there are no other intelligent beings other than the ones calling the shots and manipulating this projection of reality. And these are called the directors.
They need to be doing a better job.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I hope if this was a simulation, whichever programmer is overseeing this would kind of ramp it up a bit. Maybe just send a full-scale invasion.
Yeah. Just stop slowly inching us towards destruction.
Right.
Just, get it over with.
Or just give us healthcare or something for free.
Great.
I don't know.
Actually, computer, can you send healthcare?
Yeah. Jarvis, can you give me healthcare?
Right.
But moving on to our next theory, which is probably the scariest of the bunch. Some SETI researchers have considered sending out directed high-power messages to nearby planets beyond our solar system. And the peaceful messages would essentially say like, hey, here we are. We come in peace. Do you know about apple pie, hot dogs, fireworks? They're pretty cool. But other researchers have argued it would be incredibly, incredibly reckless to send out direct messages. Why? Well, first, translation is a huge issue, right? And if communication is a problem, the extraterrestrials could end up in a theoretical scenario of fear and distrust, kind of like how it is on Earth, honestly. They don't know who we are or what we're saying. They only know there's someone else out there, which could lead to violence. And this is what's known as the dark forest theory. The universe is a dark forest. Each civilization is a hunter moving silently. All civilizations want to survive, but all resources are finite, making every other hunter a threat. The limitation of resources causes the civilizations of hunters to expand in order to survive. They will be competing with other silent hunters to the ends of time. So even if a peaceful signal is sent out, no highly intelligent group can trust another highly intelligent group. The only rational move is to immediately destroy the other civilization because the cost of being wrong is total annihilation. Therefore, the only option is to stay completely silent. There's an idea that our planet is incredibly vulnerable since it exists toward the bottom of a deep, deep gravity well, and one attack from a large and powerful weapon, or even just lobbing a big old space rock toward us, could obliterate us as a not even Type 1 civilization confined to our planet. But why hasn't this already happened? Why haven't we just been Death Starred? A few possible explanations. This could be due to the zoo theory that these highly intelligent creatures, which I'll call them sophonts, it's essentially human or more advanced than human intelligent extraterrestrials, sophonts. These sophonts have agreed to let us be in our little nature reserve, and they've agreed, don't bother with these people, or our survival doesn't prove that we're safe, only that we've been very incredibly lucky so far. Or there's another option. In a hostile dark forest, the reason we've observed strictly primitive or vacant planets is because if we were ever able to discover a developed one, we'd already be zapped into a billion pieces, meaning that we are the only advanced sophonts around. Does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah.
Kind of like if anyone else knew of our existence, we would already be gone. We might not even know that they exist. We would just be out in the blink of an eye. But really, the only true way to debunk the hostile dark forest theory is if we discovered an advanced civilization and we weren't immediately destroyed Death Star style. So if we ever actually did come into contact with someone else, then we would know, okay, there is no dark forest theory. But who would know? It's a Schrodinger's dark forest, I guess.
Right.
And to add to this, there are a few holes in this theory. First, it's obviously pretty pessimistic. It assumes there would be no room for cooperation among hunters. It just assumes everyone is violent towards one another and no one wants to work together. It also assumes that a competitor would need our resources, which isn't necessarily true. And the icing on the cake, we've actually been broadcasting signals out to space for over a century, and we haven't been wiped out yet. So, a theory competing with the dark forest theory is known as the silent guardian theory. An advanced civilization is actually protecting us without us noticing. They've even created artificial superintelligence to observe us and block any contact with other civilizations for our own protection. It might restrict things like radio broadcasts and limit radiating waste heat from the planet so we can continue developing our civilization undetected. So even though we are sending out those signals, maybe it's being blocked by some superintelligence we have no idea is even out there. But also some basic ideas I'll tack onto this. Advanced civilizations simply run out of resources before they can achieve interstellar travel. But that's boring. It's just like, we
didn't have enough stuff.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's like space is just too big. Interstellar travel is simply too costly. Yeah, it's just like, we don't have the gas.
No provisions.
Yeah, we're not going. We're just not going. Kind of boring, but that one's thrown in there as well. To loop it all back around, Fermi himself might have contributed to his own paradox. How? The nuclear bomb. He worked on the Manhattan Project, and there's a theory called the stop worrying and love the bomb theory, which is named after the Stanley Kubrick movie. But this theory proposes that almost all galactic civilizations self-destruct very soon after the discovery of nuclear weapons. This theory grew in popularity when the threat of nuclear war was at an all-time high during the Cold War, and you could consider how advanced our own weaponry has become even in the last century and even in the last few decades, really. We have now AI drones out there, but these sophont civilizations in a post-nuclear world more advanced than us would also end up blowing themselves to kingdom come, and their weapons would be even more destructive than what we have now. There's a great book. It's called The Great Silence, Science and Philosophy of Fermi's Paradox, and it says this. This now includes the intentional or accidental misuse of biotechnology and is likely to soon include the misuse of nanotechnology, robotics, artificial intelligence, and geoengineering. And even with all this technology, they'd still be limited in their astroengineering activities. So things like their WNDs would effectively wipe all trace of their own civilization, so we'd actually never find them, possibly just blowing up an entire planet to smithereens. And likewise, unfortunately, we might even do it to ourselves. Another aspect of this theory is that it's not nuclear weapons that wipe out the Sophonts. It's their own advanced AI. Their technology becomes so powerful that AI robots take over and either enslave humanity or destroy humanity entirely. There's a lot of games and movies about this, but
we're on our way.
Yeah. And this is, you can kind of see it happening, but this is also obviously a very cynical theory, and it isn't favored by a lot of SETI enthusiasts. This means that every civilization ends up acting as irrationally and as violently as us. It projects our own human flaws onto the rest of the universe, which isn't fair. Another theory that is possibly one of my favorites, even though it's a bit pessimistic, it's also kind of funny because it's called the Galactic stomachache. The idea is that civilizations just simply get too comfortable, too sick, and too distracted. Oof. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
As technology eliminates hardships in life, they also eliminate what's called hormesis. This is a phenomenon where a low-level biological stress actually keeps organisms in check. If you think about it, intelligent and complex beings didn't evolve out of comfort, right? They evolved under just the right amount of stress and pressure. This keeps organisms sharper, healthier, and more motivated. So what happens is what you see with the humans in the movie WALL-E, if you're familiar. These Sophonts, they get incredibly unhealthy and very distracted to a point where their development completely stops. This also results in declining cognitive abilities. And because the civilization gets so unhealthy and useless, they have to redirect all their surplus resources into maintaining health and comfort rather than investing in space research and exploration. I mean, we're already falling into this quite a bit, and we may have missed the window of opportunity to branch out into the solar system because we're so inward focused, which would, if we did branch out into the solar system, it would potentially give us new resources for even further advancements, but we're just stuck here on Earth. Here in the US, we spend more on healthcare than any other nation in the world, and in comparison, our space exploration budget is a very, very small fraction of that. But within this theory, these Sophont civilizations also develop pleasure technologies. Don't get too weird with it, but think about virtual reality, algorithmic entertainment, cheap dopamine. These simulate achievements when really there are none. Think about video games, right? So these Sophonts could get trapped within virtual or digital worlds and ignore the real one. God, that feels like it's too close to home, but
yeah, too close.
Yeah. Is this already happening here on Earth? After going through this, I'm going to request all my listeners go out, spend some quality time outside today or tomorrow. Just make a promise to yourself, go touch some grass. We need to escape the digital world sometime.
Look up at the sky.
Yeah.
Think of aliens.
Yeah, go check out space. But this stomachache continues because as quality of life improves, the human enthusiasm for space declines. And within the same period, pseudoscience becomes very popular. Does this sound familiar? I mean, good Lord, the surge of flat earthers?
Oof.
It's like we're already living this galactic stomachache. The book I mentioned earlier, The Great Silence, was published in 2018, and it mentions this theory. And you could actually argue that these conditions in the galactic stomachache theory are even more dire than they were when this book was published 8 years ago, which is crazy. So if you buy into this theory, the end result is that all these advanced civilizations fall into these unhealthy, very comfortable, very unmotivated lifestyles. And they're similar to a well-fed animal who has lost interest in hunting for themselves. And they maroon themselves on their home planet, never reaching out to the stars. Whew. Again, this is a pretty pessimistic take, although it does hit close to home. maybe this is something to consider when we're locked into our phones, into our screens. But it's an important reminder, just like the self-destruction theory, it seems to be taking human problems and projecting them onto the rest of the universe. So these might be problems that we have, but it doesn't necessarily explain why other SOFON or highly intelligent civilizations out there would be operating in the same exact ways. Matt, that's a pretty deep cut theory. Do you have any opinions on that one?
Well, I think we're definitely on our way to the self-destructing part of
Yeah.
it. I hate to be, sometimes I can be a bit of a pessimist. I'm trying to change that, but yeah, I think that might hold some water.
You think we're just going to blast ourselves to smithereens?
It certainly feels like that some days. I really hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
But reality tends to, I feel like, agree with me, unfortunately.
Yeah. Speaking of like getting lost in the, what do they call it? Algorithmic entertainment. Man, sometimes you pull out your phone and these social media feeds are all death and despair and sadness and just anger.
Yeah, it really beats you down.
Yeah. But I've slowly been reworking my algorithm on Instagram, trying to make it more drum videos, more just happy, fun, old school, like internet circa 2007. Because really the algorithm, it will just follow what you are interested in. So you got to stop playing into the death, despair, and destruction end of it. You got to move away from it and rework your algorithm. Make it work for you instead of you working for it.
And you can also, if you can go into your settings and actually block certain phrases and words that will bring up, different reels or whatever you're watching it on.
True.
Which I've done because I feel like I do get a lot of that kind of doom and gloom stuff or just absolute brain rot stuff.
Yeah.
And I really am trying to get away from that. So I went into my settings and just kind of blocked a bunch of stuff that I thought was, useless or maybe negative towards my mind and my well-being.
Yeah, fight back against the algorithm. One of the most straightforward and most rational ideas, arguably, is that we are simply alone. Because the special circumstances that got us to where we are today are so incredibly rare. So the idea is that we might be the only sentient species. Okay, so why would that be? There's this really cool theory called the rare earth theory. And the idea mostly comes from two researchers. Their names are Peter Ward and Donald Brownlee, and they published a book in 2000. They argue that with our sun and our earth, under incredibly rare circumstances, created a surprisingly stable ecosystem. There is a very long list of what makes us so specialized here on Earth, but I'm going to pare it down for everybody. These things include a planet that exists where significant amounts of heavy elements are available and sterilizing radiation sources are located very far away. An orbit around a star that has a long lifetime, ours is billions of years, an orbital distance that allows liquid water to exist at or near the planet's surface, a planet whose inhabitants smash that like, follow, and subscribe button, and also leave a review and join the DGSG Patreon and YouTube members. A planetary tilt that allows for seasonal atmospheric changes to be mild, not severe, and the moon helps stabilize this tilt. Also a solar system that includes gas giants capable of reducing the odds of major cosmic impacts and subsequent mass extinction. I mean, we saw what happened to the dinosaurs, but most of our space junk, luckily, burns up in the atmosphere. The presence of plate tectonics, which build up land masses, create diverse ecosystems, cycle carbon into and out of the atmosphere, prevent a runaway greenhouse effect, and help stabilize the surface temperature worldwide. Pretty incredible. A molten planetary core that generates a significant global magnetic field, largely protecting the surface from solar radiation. The presence of oxygen. Yeah, who would have thought? And the right amount of it at exactly the right time for complex life to utilize it. As well as having rare elements and rare complex organisms, especially sophons or beings similar to or greater than humans. The complete list is actually way, way longer, but you get the idea. Simply saying this, a lot of things went exactly, perfectly right for there to be life on Earth, especially intelligent life. Many people in astrobiological circles accept this as a rational theory when it comes to the Fermi Paradox. And with that said, the rare earth theory doesn't count out simple life, only complex or intelligent life, because even the harshest habitats on Earth have microbes, very little guys. And the authors believe that if other life is out there, it's most likely microbes. But still, then, think about it. Where are the microbes? We don't even have evidence of that. Going along with the rare earth idea, some say that not only do these rare conditions need to be met, but the window for life like ours to develop is also incredibly, incredibly small. All of the conditions have to line up perfectly in time with one another, making life even more rare. If this time frame is missed, the biosphere can advance, or possibly it even collapses. This is a great reminder that ecology is a huge factor in all this. And we have to consider, Matt, Gaia.
Oh, yes.
This is the name of the primordial Greek goddess of the earth, but also the scientific theory that organisms interact with their surroundings to form an interconnected, self-regulating, and highly complex system. So we are all Gaia.
Cue Gaia by King Kazoo.
Yeah.
Wizard.
We are all one. It's actually argued that this window for everything to line up perfectly only opened about 1 to 1.5 billion years ago. And if life on Earth would have missed this time frame, the biosphere most likely would have been driven to extinction or never had a chance to evolve. So nailing this Gaian time frame might have been just a matter of incredible, incredible luck. Do you feel lucky, Matt?
Not terribly lucky, but I feel lucky to be here. I feel lucky to be
on the
podcast right
now,
now,
We'll take it.
Be sitting next to the sweet baby Jaye,
Nice.
It's a good time.
I like that perspective. So on the whole, no, not feeling lucky, but right now in the moment, feeling a little lucky.
I shouldn't say no, because as soon as I say no, then I'm just going to get a bunch of bad luck coming my way.
Yeah, it's called manifesting.
You know what? Scratch that. I feel pretty lucky.
He's lucky. He's a lucky man.
I got some good people around me, and I'm alive. So
there you go.
What
more could you ask for in an infinite universe?
Yeah, money.
But the reason this rare earth theory is so strong is because it's not simply speculation, like many are when it comes to the Fermi Paradox. It's driven by actual data and research collected from Earth. But the scariest part is this: that Gaian window that I was talking about requires a universe that is naturally dangerous, because extinction has to be the default and very common. It's just a matter of how frequent and massive catastrophes are. John Kramer, the physicist, not the jigsaw killer, he called this the crisis pump. Exactly the right rate of disaster might be as equally important as habitability. And this might sound stupid, but think about this. The asteroid killed the dinosaurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was devastating to the planet Earth. But look what their extinction led to. All of this evolution and advancement. Right?
I never thought about it like that, but yeah.
Have you ever seen the meme where it's like when God saw that the dinosaurs weren't creating Steely Dan fast enough, and it's him just sending the meteor to the planet Earth? But if you think about it, it all lines up, because were the dinosaurs ever going to be able to build a spaceship? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Their brains just weren't really there. Yeah. They didn't live long enough to try and build a spaceship. But all this evolution that came after this highly catastrophic event lends to this theory. And look how far we've come. I can now play things like ice cream shop simulators on my phone in a house with air conditioning.
And that's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about. All right. Wow. Cram-packed full of theories here. But Matt, I'll have to ask, what is your personal favorite theory from the list? I know you were saying that most likely it was the self-destruction, but do you have a personal favorite?
Actually, I think my personal favorite might be the zoo theory.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
I think that, I think they're all, somewhat viable theories, they're all believable in my opinion. But I think the zoo theory is just the most interesting theory.
Yeah.
And the most freaky theory to me.
Yeah, I love the zoo theory too, because it feels very much like Slaughterhouse-Five, like a Kurt Vonnegut energy theory. It also makes us more insignificant, which I always like theories that make us, I feel like the rare earth theory, even though it's probably the most practical, it hypes us up too much because it's like, look how special we are.
Right.
Whereas I feel like the zoo theory takes us down a few notches.
Oh, definitely. And I think, the universe being so vast that we as humans have kind of always thought of ourselves as the center of the universe, when largely the universe is very unkind to humans.
Right.
That, I think our insignificance is more true. I don't know.
Yeah, true. I also really like the dark forest theory. I actually have this book, if you guys have looked at this behind me. This is the second in a trilogy. I don't know, you probably can't read it here, but there's this cool Chinese writer. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Cixin Liu. Great trilogy. And the dark forest theory he really dives into in that second book. Even though it's terrifying, I kind of like that idea that everyone's just this silent hunter and everyone's scrounging for resources and it's a highly hostile place. But I also wonder if our first contact, or like the hunters who take us out, we often think of extraterrestrials as organic, like the little green men, things along those lines. But a part of me wonders if it's mostly just going to be synthetic. Like it's just going to be robots from a once highly intelligent civilization that now has been surpassed by its robots. I don't know if that's crazy. Am I talking crazy
No,
here?
I think that, I feel like, kind of on our way with AI, that might happen to us,
Yeah, right.
We might be destroyed by our own creations. So
true. This is the first episode where Jerry has just abandoned the set.
Oh, she left?
Yeah, Jerry, what the man?
No. Jerry, come back.
But I'm wondering, out of this very dense scientific episode, what are your guys' favorite theories out there? Did I miss a theory that you might think is awesome? Let me know in the comments. And do you think we're alone? Are there traces of life? Also respond to that. Give me your best alien theories. Who they are, what they want, how intelligent are they? How far advanced are they? But really, the Fermi Paradox, Enrico Fermi was never able to answer this question, obviously, but it lives on in the Hall of Fame of greatest questions ever asked. Unfortunately, he later died from inoperable stomach cancer in 1954 at the age of 53, but his legacy lives on. For this week's physical media, we're having Matt pick this one. And we actually both you've already seen this movie, but we both just watched it, last week? So you could get a refresher, and then this was my first viewing. But yeah, show them what's up.
So it's the 1972 film Silent Running, the directorial debut of Douglas Trumbull, who you may know as a special effects supervisor and director of a lot of movies that you've probably seen. 2001. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Also did some work on Blade Runner.
Nice.
And
beautiful movie.
One of Austin's favorite movies. He did the creation of the universe sequence in The Tree of Life.
Yeah. Probably the most beautiful cinematic experience of my life is the Big Bang sequence.
Could make me religious, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it's a science.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this movie is awesome. Quite a depressing movie. Also
very
shockingly violent at times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is the action kind of happens in the first third of the movie, maybe even before then.
Yeah.
And then it kind of becomes something else entirely.
Desolate. Yeah. And it's weird because it's, what year was it again?
1972.
Yeah, so it predates Star Wars. Yeah. And what's crazy is that the robots in it, it looks like there are people that are walking on their hands. Yeah. They have their legs tucked in and they're walking around on their hands. And it's cool that they had this idea of robots, people inside these robots, because they would do that, obviously, in Star Wars. The little
R2,
guy in R2 and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's cool to see the more archaic version of it.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was fun.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really interesting film about, say, environmentalism is kind of the main theme.
Yeah.
but I think it also has to do with like the existential dangers of apathy and maybe, the possible dangers of self-righteousness,
Ooh.
because I think in the beginning, it's about Lowell, who is a ecologist. He's an ecologist / botanist on the Valley Forge space. I guess you would say it's a cargo ship.
Yeah, it is. It's like a freighter, basically.
It's a freighter,
yeah.
a space freighter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in charge of maintaining these geodesic domes that have plants and animal life.
Yeah. And a one big giant squirrel.
Yeah,
too.
a huge squirrel.
Yeah.
A giant, it's massive. But he's obviously the kind of the sole one that
he's the poetic type.
Yeah.
Among the group of like harsh, cold scientists,
exactly,
kind of is what it feels like.
And I think, even though at the beginning of the movie, he's not necessarily the most likable guy, but
no, you could argue he's like kind of villainous.
He's kind of and he soon turns villainous quite quickly, and it's just it's a really interesting film that for a space movie, you think of epics and adventures, and this one is kind of something else that, I've never really seen before.
Yeah. It's also a very isolating movie because I think the whole movie is on this one freighter.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's space, it's very isolating. You're just kind of locked in here.
And especially, I don't want to spoil anything. But, we mostly see Lowell for
he's the main subject.
The larger part of the movie.
Yeah.
Besides, Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yes, the robots. Yeah, that are hilarious.
But
this movie also reminded me of the galactic stomachache theory a little bit, just because they're eating like these synthetic foods and they're like, well, we don't care, whatever. It's all this, comfort. They've gotten so comfortable in what they consume, and having the entire Earth be 75 degrees all the time. If you remember little tidbit they're talking about back home, and they're like, the Earth is always 75 degrees.
Everything
which
looks
is
the same.
Very comfortable, right? But that's also probably the reason why a lot of the ecosystems collapsed, because they made the Earth 75 degrees. Yeah. It reminded me of that theory a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that melon freak out scene, when he's kind of
he's
blowing
like,
up
I grew
on
this.
them.
Yeah, that was great.
Great one.
Yeah, but with all that said, actually, no, hold on. We actually have one.
Oh, yeah. The man who did the soundtrack to it.
Yeah, so very weird story here. This album I picked up, it's called The Worst of PDQ Bach, and it's with Professor Peter, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Schickele. It's also worst spelled like the sausage.
And he's eating a bunch of sausage in here. But we were at a garage sale a few weeks ago, and I was like, what is this? This is ridiculous. And I bought it for $1. And coincidentally, the guy who did the music for this movie is that guy.
Which I hadn't even heard of him, and I only found that out after you had bought that record.
Right, yeah.
I was kind of looking at the, all the people that worked on it, and I was like, you're never going to believe this.
Right, yeah.
It's PDQ Bach.
Yeah, pretty wild. But yeah, nice coincidence there, cosmic coincidence.
Yeah.
And that's it, guys. I want to say a big thank you to Matt here. Also, go check out his music. It's called Exit Pill. It's very great stuff. Cool electronic music. I've listened to a lot of it. I actually drum in my free time to the music. We don't have it actually drums on the track.
Still got to send me those files.
I know. Sometimes I'll just listen to it and drum to it just for fun, just to kind of sync up a little musically when we can't in real time. But yeah, go check out Exit Pill. I'll throw some links in there, but Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, wherever you get your music, you can go check out his stuff. But thank you, Matt. Anything you want to say?
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I had a blast, it was a good time.
Yeah.
We got to get Robert on the mic next time.
I know. We'll have a third microphone for Robert too, because I know he's just itching to say a bunch of stuff over there. Remember to go follow, like, and subscribe, all that stuff. Also the Patreon and YouTube members. It's been gaining some traction, which is cool, and it's just awesome to see all the support out there. I truly do love you guys. I know I say that all the time. And I say it all the time because it's true. I love you guys so much, and I really appreciate the support. Also, just all the comments that I get. I read every single comment, by the way. I try to respond to a lot of them as well, but I just love seeing all the support for this channel. It's really fills my heart and makes me want to keep going with this. But Robert and I have also been really enjoying those bedtime stories lately. We just have a ton of laughs, ton of fun, and I have to then cut it all out, which is also fun because I get to rewatch it again and then remove all the laughing and screwing around. But it's been a blast, to say the least. So always remember, when you consider how microscopic you are within the infinite, ever-expanding universe, yet also colossal and extraordinarily large within your capacity for change, compassion, and love, remember to ask yourself, do geese see God? Think about it.